What's up, people? This is Balaji, and welcome to, one of my favorite editions of Demand Wars. She's the head of global demand and marketing campaigns at Nokia. She's on the 2022 Future B2B CMO 100 list, an audience centric advisor at the intersection of growth, brand, and product. Plus, she's a global citizen. She speaks English and Hungarian, Spanish and German, French and hip hop. Oh, you think it's a game? You think it's a game? Ask her the lyrics to Big Daddy Kane, KRS-One, Scarface, Hot Boys, Biggie. She once ran a 100-person team call center at the age of 23. She's now 24, by the way. Fresh out the box. Stop, look and watch. Ready yet? Get set. She's all that. From Budapest, Hungary. Kérem, segíts tudvozelek. Please help me welcome. Who's that girl? Zsuzsanna Blau, 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 Blau.
Okay. Oh my God.
What's up?
You are literally the king of the intros. I know I kind of I prepped you in a sense that when you did some of your intros, I was so
Mm-hmm.
jealous. I
Yeah,
wanted one for myself,
I
and
had to.
you delivered.
I
Wow.
had to. I had to. I had to. But goodness, it is well deserved, Susanna. I mean, for those of us who haven't been to Budapest yet, you are single handedly making the case that we need to start moving some of these marketing events to Budapest. I'm
Yes.
so impressed with what you've been doing, not only at Nokia, but also with your personal brand. And congratulations at delivering your very first big time keynote. How did that go?
Thank you. Thank you. I was so nervous, but I think it went really great actually. Got some amazing feedback and met some amazing people, and we had some amazing conversations afterwards. So shout out to the Connect CMO team and everyone that took part in London in the past.
Yes.
Well, when was this? End of October, early November. So
Yes.
it was a Halloween themed party pretty much with all my marketing friends, but it was amazing.
Oh
Thank you.
boy. Oh,
Appreciate that.
that's amazing. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. And really, Susanna has been one of those individuals whom, while I haven't had the privilege of meeting in person yet, we definitely are going to make it happen at one of these marketing events. So, Susanna, I've really enjoyed the content you've been sharing on LinkedIn. We're about to put you through the ringer, though, because you are in the Demand Wars hot seat. So, with your permission, we'd like to get you started with the first question. Are you ready, Zsuzsanna Blau?
Woo! As ready as I can be. Give it to me.
Yes. She's ready. She's ready. All right, let's go. First things first, we are flying you off to a desert island. This is Desert Island Marketer. So we've got you on this island. No food, no water. You've got to fend for yourself. You do have a laptop and internet though. Don't ask me how you have that. And you have $1,000 a month budget. So your manager has said, Susanna, you still need to help us go to market on this very limited budget. How in the world are you going to do that?
Mhm. Well, first things first, I would have to do some audience research, right?
Hmm.
So I really do believe that before you go ahead and create 100 content pieces meant to influence your audience's behavior, you have to do 100 hours of customer research. So I would do
Mm.
that. And based on what I find, I would go all in on community building. I really,
Mm.
really believe, and I know that I think you and I are on the same page here big time because you're also a legend in audience building, is one of the most important skill sets for 2024 and onwards. In the
Mm.
age of AI, is definitely going to be around audience building, around building an audience, around your opinion and point of views. And a lot of companies and a lot of personal brands want to be thought leaders and
Right.
influencers, but
Right.
forget that that means having leading thoughts. So in order to have leading
Hmm.
thoughts, you have to do your audience research. You have to know your audience. So I would go all in on some research first, and then based on my understanding of where these people actually hang out that I want to target and whose behavior I'd like to influence, I would find that outlet, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, podcasting, Discord, YouTube, whatever it is, wherever they are hanging out. That's what I would go all in on. I would choose one channel first,
Mm.
um, try and identify a niche within that category where my audience is underserved or they have unmet needs.
Hmm.
And I'd also read up a lot on buyer psychology. I think that's very important. And then I would try and collaborate with micro influencers,
Oh
in
wow.
that niche to create and disseminate content. Mm,
Ooh.
I know there are a couple of companies that do this really well, actually, and I think it can be harder in B2B to create this kind of influencer brand for you that is a
Hmm.
little bit separate or very separate from your corporate
Hmm.
brand. But that's what I would start with.
You have a
Focus.
very distinct opinion here, Zsuzsanna, which I'm really enjoying. Starting with the audience research, putting in like 100 hours of audience research. That, by the way, is one of the things that most people would not disagree with. Oh, audience research, yes, that's good. We love it. But also, most companies don't really do it.
Right, exactly. And there are so many tools and options in front of you to do audience research depending on your budget. Obviously, not everyone will have the budget to do and commission an analyst report, for example, for their category. But you can start with just listening in on sales calls, sales conversations. As a marketer,
Mm.
you may not be able to be on the call, but ask your
Mm-hmm.
sales team to record those calls and listen in on one conversation a week. That'll give you
Mm.
so much insight on what your customers or potential customers want or don't want. That's a really great way to start. And of course, Google is your best friend and ChatGPT is your second best friend, or even maybe the first right now. So just do some research on your own and
Yes.
look up your keywords that you're trying to rank for and see what your competitors are doing for those keywords and how they are phrasing their ads. Go into LinkedIn and Facebook. You actually can see ads that are running right now by your competitors.
Mm.
Just go to your competitors' LinkedIn page, look at their posts, and you can click on ads and it will show you all the ads that they've had live in the past 6 months to understand how they
Mm.
are messaging and how they are going to market. So there are a lot of things that you can do for free to really understand your market, your audience, your competitors. You don't have to have a lot of budget to do that.
I really like that, Susanna. And you talked about studying buyer psychology. Would you see that more as a sales skill, a marketing skill? Why does studying buyer psychology in particular float to the top of your list?
Isn't marketing sales one way or another? You want to influence your audience,
Mhm.
right? So if you understand buyer psychology, it will help you influence their thinking, their behavior. People don't want to be sold to, like not direct hard sales, but you can prep them without them really noticing it. If you think about a couple of um, personal brand influencers as well, but bigger brands as well. Usually,
Mhm.
for example, they'll have a very distinct like mantra or that one tagline. There's a reason why companies have taglines. That's part of buyer psychology, really. They
Hmm.
prep you. So it's almost like, Pavlov's dog, when every single time he rang the bell, the dog started salivating. That's
Salivating.
prepping.
Mm-hmm.
That's prepping, right? You want to prep your audience to salivate every single time you say your tagline, like Nike, just do it, or
Mm.
McDonald's, I'm loving it. Those
Mm-hmm.
things, every time someone says that, you know exactly that's Nike or McDonald's, or
Mm.
you want something of your own. Say, mm, I know Chris Walker is actually doing this a lot, and I'm not sure people actually notice that
Really?
he keeps repeating the same terms in
Mm-hmm.
every single speaking opportunity he's got, because he wants you to remember, like, I think all bound is a term he's been using, or revenue
Mm.
R&D, and some
Mm-hmm.
of these things that are truly his. No one else is using these terms.
Mm.
So the more you do that, the more people will associate those terms with you. You're prepping them for future. That's how you create category as well. If you think about it, like HubSpot did with inbound. No one was talking about inbound before HubSpot started to talk
Mm.
about inbound. So again, that's prepping.
I love that. Man, that's deep. That hey, this is why we need to study psychology, kids. So so we
Mm.
can come up with these sort of insights. Pavlov's dog. I didn't really think of that association in terms of how we work with our market. That's smart and great examples too. Okay, Zsuzsanna. So you kind of knocked down out of the park. That's fine. That's fine. We heard you guys are pretty sharp in Budapest. That's okay. We're gonna see if we can ask a harder question though, Zsuzsanna. Okay, so, all right. So we know you can handle marketing on a small budget, but now your manager is coming to you to say, okay, Zsuzsanna, we have unlimited budget, but we have very limited time. So we need you to create demand for us really fast.
Mm.
How would you, I'd love for you to answer this question three different ways. I'll give you three scenarios. How would you create demand fast if you only had 3 days, if you only had 3 weeks, and then if you only had 3 months. So let's tackle the first one. It's the most extreme, but you got to create demand, fresh demand in 3 days. How are you doing it? Unlimited budget.
Oh gosh. And I know my audience already, right?
You know
So
your audience.
I
Yes.
know my audience. Woo, 3 days. Okay,
Three
unlimited
days.
budget. So, okay, so a couple of things. Obviously,
Mm.
consumer versus B2B, very different, but everyone's a person. So you'll find them probably in the mornings around cafes. So one idea would be to do like massive promotion, like massive giveaways at cafes, your corner
Wow.
shop cafes, your Dunkins and Starbucks, but also your mom and pop, coffee shops. Um, Another idea could be to do something with the postal services for direct
Hmm.
mail inserts. Like
Mm-hmm.
literally, just imagine if you could add a direct mail insert to every single package that's going out that day, those 3 days. That would probably
Mm.
go really far in reach. Um,
Old school. I like it. Like it.
yeah, because it's different too, right? People are so used to um, digital.
Email. Mm-hmm.
According to some numbers that I've read recently, don't ask me where, I don't know the
Mm.
source, but according to some numbers, people see about 15K, 15,000 ads a day. Like you don't necessarily see them, but you're exposed to about
Exposed to the
15,000
right,
ads,
right. Mm.
which is insane. And then maybe another idea would be, um, depending on what part of year my 3 days would fall on, but I would try and pick maybe some huge event and do a big, like, digital out of home takeover around it. Could be
Mm.
one obvious answer is, of course, a Super Bowl ad if you have all the money, but that's, maybe another would be Oscars or the World Cup, FIFA
Ah.
World Cup, or even something
Mm-hmm.
like the World Economic Forum in
Oh wow.
Davos. So something huge where you take over digital out of home screens for 3 days in every major city, everywhere. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. World Economic Forum in Davos. This is probably the very first time I've heard a marketer cite that as as a target example. But goodness, talk about
Little decision
influencers.
makers, they are there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like how you're thinking about that. I like how you're thinking about it a lot. And you know what else is interesting? Even we all know we don't. Most of us do not have that blank check. But if we did, would we actually have a message, a campaign that would be compelling enough? Like if the world is actually watching, like, okay, Zsuzsanna, you got your 30-second Super Bowl ad, your World Cup ad. What do you got? I wonder how many of us would actually be ready for that
Oh,
moment.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't
That's
know
good.
exactly. Not many of
That's
us
good.
would be
Not
ready.
many. Not many. Okay, so Susanna, assuming now, instead of 3 days, which is insane, admittedly, it's insane, you now have 3 weeks. Three
Yeah.
whole weeks. It feels luxurious.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. Okay, so it would have to be something around a roadshow. It's
Hmm.
still a very short time, but it gives you a little bit more to do. Maybe something star-studded where you could launch a teaser
Hmm.
campaign on social with celebrities, advertising how you could meet them, for example. And so
Oh, wow.
you would use these influencers in a star-studded roadshow. Um,
Oh.
so Nokia is into network equipment and network
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure for your 5G, for example, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking a 5G portal to the world roadshow where
Wow.
you kind of open a window to the world where, I don't know, I'm here in Budapest and you can interact with me real time on the other side of the world, as you're walking by in New York on a
Oh,
street.
wow.
So we could do this with celebrities for 3 weeks across the world,
Oh, my
and some
gosh.
social to promote it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Man, I love that. I love that. And, I'm almost thinking, again, for those of us who don't have that unlimited budget, that blank check, this is still such an intriguing idea. First of all, the roadshow, perhaps not enough of us are thinking of that roadshow format. It's a limited number of cities. I assume it has a theme of some sort. So it's not like people can just say, I'll wait until next year. Like, no, this year is going to be different from next year. And then the celebs, man, if I can't get like worldwide celebs, the Beyoncés, maybe I could
Hmm.
get celebs for my industry.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool, man. I might have to use some of these ideas. I don't know, Susanna, for some of my clients now. This is some creative stuff. Okay, so finally, if we have a much more realistic 3 months to create demand, this is
Right.
a quarter now. This is now we're now entering into we're out of the twilight zone, and it's like okay, I've got 90 days. How would you actually look to create demand?
Yeah. I would go back to what I said to your first question on
Hmm.
Desert Island. Um,
Hmm.
so you already know the audience because you did your 100 hours of customer research, and
Yes.
then collaborate with micro influencers, and start creating content. Go all in on maybe first on a single channel. Of course, I understand here we've got unlimited budget for 3 months. Then you can try all the channels you want. But
Hmm.
obviously, the whole idea would be to make sure that you have a really strong point of view based on your audience research, um,
Hmm.
and you would want to create all that content and then slice and dice into various pieces. So you create a webinar like we are doing right now, then you can upload that as a podcast. You can create video snippets and social media posts, and you can write about it
Hmm.
in a blog. You can create funny infographics or funny memes out of it, depending on where you're posting. So you
Hmm.
would, you know, disseminate. Um, and again, if you don't have unlimited budget, which I know you do, but collaborate with others that you know would be a great way to disseminate and get
Ah.
a greater reach. If you don't mind me giving you an example of a company that I think
Please.
is doing it really well nowadays, it's Goldcast, actually.
Oh,
Goldcast is
wow.
a webinar platform. I'm not a customer, but I'm a huge fan, and I hope to be a customer one day.
Wow.
But so what they do is they collaborate with marketers
Hmm.
um, to bring them on a show, obviously on Goldcast as the webinar platform. And so they run all sorts of events on their own platform, and they will have their customers on it doing live demos, which is really amazing. And it goes with, I have a saying, my own saying
Mm.
is flip that funnel, hashtag flip
Yes.
that funnel.
Uh-huh.
So they really do flip the funnel by trying to get more customers via existing customers. And what's better
Hmm.
than a live demo of your product by a customer that is unpaid,
Wow.
and so they are doing a really good job at getting marketers as speakers onto their events, talking about
Mm.
obviously challenges which help them learn even more about the
Right.
challenges of their own audience that they can then use for content creation. So
Brilliant.
mhm.
Brilliant. Wow, what a great example. And as you once you said Goldcast, I said of course, because I've been seeing a lot of their content and it's always co-created content. It's
Right.
rarely just a talking head from Goldcast. It's a
That's
marketer.
exactly. And that goes back to how, if you only have 3 to 5% of your TAM, your total addressable market
In
any given
market.
day, but you're only focusing on that 3 to 5%, and you're leaving your 95 to 97%, whatever percent that is, a big
Mm-hmm.
percentage untouched,
Mm-hmm.
then who's going to seed your market for a future purchase? And so with these type of activities, I'm not yet a Goldcast customer, but I
Mm.
already have them in mind, right? So
Mm.
they are seeding,
Mm.
very
Wow.
subtly. And yeah, well, your biggest potential for future growth is that 95 to 97% that
Makes
are
sense.
not yet ready to buy, but hopefully will be in the future. They are part of your
That
ideal
wow.
customers.
That makes a lot of sense. And goodness, the fact that you just said you're not a Goldcast customer, you have no association with them, but here's the crazy thing. Their sales team probably has no idea who you are, right? They have no idea what your experience has been or your relationship is with the brand, but maybe 6 months or 9 months or 12 months from now, you might show up on their website, "Oh, I want to talk to sales." And they'll say, "Oh, she came direct from Google." No,
Yep.
no,
Yep.
it was the marketing.
Exactly. The dark funnel.
The
Yeah.
dark funnel.
The
That's a
dark
dark.
funnel.
Hey,
Exactly.
that's
You
another
won't
Chris.
be able
That's another Chris Walker Pavlovian dark social. I think he
It
might have
is, but
coined this
he's
term.
right. And sometimes these things, you just don't know how to put them into words, and then you
Oh,
need
oh,
smart
thank
people to
you.
put them into words for you.
No, we have to double click on that, Susanna, because you talked about doing 100 hours of research. A lot of people see it as an academic exercise. It's like we're checking the box. Yes, I listen to the sales calls. But to your point, you start to learn the language of your audience and you
Mhm.
start to learn their pain points. And maybe they are expressing those pain points in like a confusing or convoluted way. And so you don't actually have to invent new concepts. You just help them explain what they're already thinking in a straightforward way. And then they're like,
Exactly.
oh, Nokia invented the term, XYZ. Susanna invented the term ABC, not knowing it was their own words. And you just found a better way of saying
Listen, isn't that what consultancies do?
it.
They tell you what you already know,
But you already know.
but they put it in a very structured, digestible way, and
Wow.
you're like, oh yeah, actually, because when you need to sit down and start planning, a lot of times you're sitting there like, how do I get started? So
True.
if
It's
that's
true.
why frameworks and playbooks work so well, because they
Mm.
help you pull your thoughts together.
Mm.
So yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
If you know
Wow.
how what if you can speak to your audience in their own language,
Mm.
that's already half the battle.
Fantastic. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So we're going to try to speak to our audience in their language on this next one, Susanna. Man, you're just giving me so many ideas. I gotta stay on track, Zsuzsanna. Stop trying to knock me off track. Okay, we got to keep this thing rolling. Marketing like a media company. We've been hearing this for the past maybe 18 months now in B2B, and a few companies are starting to do it, but maybe it's still a very small number. What does it mean to market like a media company, and have you had experience doing this?
Hmm. So, look, creating content is a lot of work and it can be really expensive. And I see a lot of companies churning out content like a content factory,
Mm.
but again, really not putting a lot of research
Mm.
behind it, or not really looking at just going back to the language of their audience. Are we really speaking the same language?
Right.
And so another saying of mine that has the number 100 in there, besides do
Mm-hmm.
100 hours of audience research before you create 100 content meant to influence their behavior, is creating 100 mediocre content pieces is hard and expensive. Creating 10 game-changing assets a year is hard and can be really expensive, but choose your hard wisely. So
Mm.
go for quality over
I
quantity.
told you she was a rapper. I told you she was into hip hop. Come on.
Oh Lord. But yeah, I think it's important for brands. People buy from brands that they know, love, and trust. And they will be happy to throw money at you, but before they spend money on you, they will spend time with you. So
Wow.
you need to be prepared for that. First of all, if all your content is gated, they're not going to be able to spend time with you. So you have to enable them to stay on your content, and you have to
Mm.
facilitate that self-education phase. Um, Also, you have to be able to track that. Time spent with you is one of the best, if not the best, indicator that they are getting ready to be sold to.
Wow.
So again, being a media company to me means you're creating a media brand that is separate from your corporate brand,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you're doing that by giving your audience all the free information, education, entertainment, whatever you want to call it, for free,
Mm-hmm.
on demand, bingeable, personalized to the point we talked about, that it's clear that you understand their pain points, their language, their
Hmm.
challenges, and so on and so forth.
Yes. Yes.
Um, so you do that in a unselfish way. You create value in an unselfish way. You're not, again, ungated, on demand, bingeable,
Mm.
personalized.
Mm.
I see a couple of companies doing this really well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for example, there is a company called Medius. I have nothing to do with them. I think they
Mm.
do invoicing software, maybe for
Huh.
accountants.
Okay.
But they have this podcast called Accounts Deceivable.
Oh wow.
It's a true crime style podcast.
Get
They
out.
spend amazing, I suppose, budget as well, because they have true, like, real detectives doing the investigation of real victims, and people actually doing the crime. It's amazing. Like, it's
Whoa.
truly entertaining and educational at the same time. And it speaks to their
Whoa.
audience, right? Or we've got Vidyard, for example,
Mm-hmm.
with Sales Feed, which Vidyard is a video company that really help SDRs, BDR, sales development reps, getting in contact with their prospects in a more
Yes.
personalized way via
Yes.
video. So they have
Yes.
a what they call Sales Feed, which is a whole platform of content for sales reps to be able to do their jobs better. Or I
Mm.
know I know that you love lavender, right? I've seen you
Lavender.
post
Yeah.
lavender a couple of times. So
Yes.
lavender is also doing this with their newsletter Lavenderland for sales folks.
Very
So
good.
yeah, so again, how do you become a media company? Have an audience first approach. Provide high quality value content that speaks to your audience. I know easier said than done, but
Hmm.
if you're really about value creation, then it's
Hmm.
gonna happen. Yeah.
Wow. 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 Okay, folks. So, Susanna, I'm going to need your Cash App so people can send donations because this is straight value. Come on, Susanna. This is crazy. I love these examples. I think you had mentioned in a previous conversation, you did some work like building a media company through Path Factory some years
Yes.
ago. Is that something you've
Okay, so we
used?
still use I
Oh,
love Pass Factory.
okay.
We use
Okay.
Pass Factory. So for a B2B company, sometimes it's not super obvious how to become a
Hmm.
media empire because it's people would think or say that it's not as creative in B2B. And the B2C or consumer experiences have really, really shaped the B2B buyer journey. You know, how
Hmm.
people that are actually part of a buyer group within B2B make decisions today is very different than before. And that's because of the Netflixes and the Amazons and the Spotifys and so on and so forth that really shape the way we interact with brands today.
That's
Again,
right.
in an on demand and bingeable way, right?
Hmm.
So, Path Factory is a tool. Um, it's a content delivery tool, really, but
Hmm.
it's powered by AI. It's being powered by AI and it's just getting better
Yeah.
and better. And it
Okay.
allows you to provide bingeable content experiences for your visitors. So it pulls
Hmm.
all your content and even third party content together into like playlists like um, customizable content tracks. We call them content tracks. And people know how to use YouTube playlists and Netflix, recommended for you. So
That's
it
right.
comes very naturally. And so again,
Okay.
this tool helps your visitors to stay longer with you. Obviously, they have amazing analytics in the back end, so you know who is spending time with you on what
Hmm.
topics and for how long, what
Hmm.
assets have they looked at. You can share that with your
Hmm.
sales team very easily, so you all see the same thing. And
Hmm.
it's it's extremely valuable, and it helped me tremendously when we first started using Path Factory in, I believe, 2018, when we wanted to enter a new market targeting hyperscalers, web scaler companies, and
Okay.
they are the disruptors of their industries and their markets, and they are the creators actually of this bingeable on demand world. So how do you market
Hmm.
to the Netflixes and the Amazons of the world? You have to be super
Hmm.
creative. So
Wow.
that was the direction we went with, because
Very
especially
interesting.
millennials and now Gen Z, they're not going to pick up the phone when your sales rep calls them. They're not going to answer sales
That's
emails.
true.
They're not going to fill out forms. So
That's true.
you need to enable them and facilitate their self-education phase.
Hmm.
We know that about 80% of the buyer journey is done digitally, all by yourself, self conducted research.
That's right.
So you need to enable that. You need to create value and just be there when they put up their hand that, hey, I'm ready to talk now, call me back.
This is great. I'm really loving the examples, and especially in this case, a company as large and prominent as Nokia has actually been investing for multiple years now in this media presence. So, loving these examples that you're sharing, Susanna. I want to help some of our friends, some of our fellow marketers who are listening, though, and they're bought in. They're like, yes, I need an audience first approach. I need to market like a media company. I need to create demand for all the people who are not in a buying cycle today.
Mm-hmm.
But my management still wants me to track marketing qualified leads. They still are worried about the pipeline for this quarter. I like to call this the sunken place. And this is a reference to a movie by Jordan Peele, Get Out. It came out some years ago where this guy, it's a fantastic horror movie if you haven't seen it. But
Loved
for
it.
people, yeah, it's a great movie. For marketers who maybe feel trapped in this in between place, I'm incentivized on demand capture today, but my audience really needs demand creation. How do they start to make that transition?
Oh yeah, that's it can be tough, but let's be real. Sales is not going to panic if you tell them that instead of 4,000 leads a year, you'll be sending them 500, right? They hate those leads anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason for that is because the marketing industry needs to stop calling contacts leads. Please stop it.
Finger
It's
snaps.
real talk because those are not leads. They're not ready to buy just because
They're
someone
not.
filled out a form
Yeah.
um, via content syndication. They downloaded your asset. It's not a lead. It's a contact. So
Mhm.
don't send those as leads.
Right.
And so if you're gonna have an honest conversation with your sales leaders and you sit down and explain to them, look, I know you hate my leads anyway. Um, we see the numbers. The MQL to SAL conversions are crap. You
Crap.
you don't
Yes.
you don't follow up anyway. So this is what I'm gonna do. Just have that honest conversation and tell them, hey, I'm going to move from number of MQLs because you know that is extremely easily manipulated,
Mm.
right? Give me a number. I'll give you as many MQLs as you want. So instead of forcing marketing to meet a number that ultimately does not influence business results, just have that conversation, show them the numbers, and agree to be measuring something that is actually revenue related, right? Pipeline revenue.
Right.
So, um, also I believe if you look at if you go and reverse engineer a little bit
Hmm.
how some of your closed won deals um, converted, like
Yes.
you're literally going to take a more audience centric approach and say, okay, let's look closely at how this buyer converted, how they entered our pipeline, and
Yes.
then have a better understanding of, are there any patterns, are there, am I able to see something, like for example, most likely all of your buyers will have to come to your website one way or another at some point in the buyer journey as
Hmm.
they are doing their self-education phase, right? So if that buyer hasn't been to your website and hasn't spent that time we also talked about, right? Before people spend money with you, they will spend time with you. Do
True.
not send it over to sales as an MQL. So do your reverse engineering of a close one deal once a month, once a quarter, whatever
Hmm.
your company requires,
Yeah.
and look at things from the buyer's perspective, and maybe group your pipeline into buckets based on, again, how they entered your pipeline, how they converted, and
Hmm.
then you'll be able to kind of forecast as well. You'll have forecasting abilities, but you'll be able to better optimize the ROI of all your activities, with which marketers are required to do, and it's really
Right.
hard.
Right.
And you'll be able to show sales that the reason why the number of leads is going to be much lower this next quarter and the quarter after is because I'm really looking at quality and not quantity. And this is
Quantity.
what it takes. And marketing is, oh my God, I think it was John Miller who said that marketing is not a gumball machine where you put in money, turn the dial, and then pipeline 10x comes out. It takes
Right.
time.
Right.
So, um, and they're not stupid. They understand because they are also working with really long sales cycles, especially in sales driven B2B organizations. They know
Yes.
that it takes time. So they'll appreciate you for that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. John Miller, by the way, for those of you who might not know, he is a founder of Marketo, one of the leading marketing automation platforms. He also founded Engagio, and I think he's working at Demandbase right now.
He
He,
left
his,
man base
oh, did
just very
he?
recently. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's doing next because
Wow, that's
he's
true.
a B2B legend for sure.
That's true. Very interesting. There's a lot changing in B2B marketing and selling right
Mm.
now. So this is really good. But some of the fundamentals, buyer psychology, studying your buyer, hanging out where they hang out, not pushing them to buy, but having conversations with them. All of these things I think will apply regardless of AI, regardless of the
Oh
latest
yeah.
technology.
Going
This
back
is
to
good stuff.
basics.
This is good stuff. Going back to basics, I want to flip it to a fun one real quick for you. You've been great on these, Zsuzsanna. We'll get you out of here in a couple of minutes. I want to flip it to a fun one real quick. I like to call this segment One Gotta Go.
Mm.
Okay. So I'm going to give you three things, a grouping of three things. You can keep two of them, but one's got to go. One's got to go. Okay. You ready?
Ready.
Let's do it. All right. Here's three things: marketing ops expertise, performance marketing expertise, customer insight expertise. You can keep two, one got to go.
My God. Performance marketing expertise.
Performance marketing. Oh my
Because if you
gosh.
already have customer insight
Uh
expertise
huh.
down
Uh
to the
huh.
T, with your marketing ops expertise, hopefully you can do performance marketing as well. You should
Interesting.
understand the
Interesting.
basics. Yeah.
Interesting. 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 All right. Let's give you a tougher one: trade show leads, ebook leads, webinar leads. One got
No
to go.
such thing as ebook leads. So ebook leads has to go. Thank you.
there's people still making ebooks. What are you talking about, Zsuzsanna?
No, keep making those ebooks. Just don't get them.
Uh, that's funny. Okay. Let's try this one. MQL,
Mm.
podcast subscriber, social media follower. One gotta go.
Ooh, that's a tough one, actually. You said MQL,
Mm-hmm.
podcast
Podcast
subscriber, or social
subscriber.
media follower.
That's right.
Um, oh God, let's do social media follower. And don't ask me why. I
Ooh.
want to keep the MQL for sure. And by the
Uh-huh.
way, whoever says the MQL is dead is crazy. The MQL
Mm.
is not dead. You're just not doing a great job at aligning with your sales team. You can call it whatever you
Ooh.
want. If it's an MQL, an MQA, a marketing pre-opportunity, a whatever opportunity, whatever lead, as long as
Mm-hmm.
sales and marketing agrees on, the definition of what that is, it should
Hmm.
be it should be great to go. And podcast subscribers, well, both social media followers, podcast subscribers go, into community building, which is very important. But if
Mm-hmm.
one gotta go, social media.
Mm, All right, you heard it here first. Okay, we'll give you one more. Let's see. Great brand reach, great
Okay.
brand recall, great brand resonance. So reach, recall, resonance. One gotta go.
Okay. Well, it has to be reach because if you have recall and resonance, that means you have reach, right? So I'll take recall. I don't know how they'll recall without the reach, but reach can go.
Okay, okay, fair enough, fair enough. Some controversial takes, but hey, these are Susanna's opinions, not mine. Direct any complaints to customer service at SusannaBlau.com. That's good. Susanna, you and I love to talk about different shows that we're watching. You've seen quite a few, and you've um exposed me to some new shows as well, which has been great. I want to see if we
Mm.
can leverage that deep well of knowledge that you have in this section called Reality Roulette. So, we want to take one of your favorite reality shows and remix it for B2B. Which show would you like to remix for B2B, and how would we do that?
So it would have to be flashy because I want to prove to the world that B2B is not boring. It can be super boring, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Hmm. Um, let's go with RuPaul's Drag Race, my friend. And that's because if you
Nice.
think about it, RuPaul, it's all a set of challenges, right? That they have
Mm-hmm.
to do. So I would see marketers competing via challenges related to brand, demand gen, performance, you know, return on investment, et cetera, et cetera. And then the judges could be our various stakeholders like sales, your CFO, your
Oh.
CIO, because we want to make sure that we have very close relationships with these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how about that?
I like that. I like that. That's creative. That's pretty creative. I'm not sure how excited marketers would be to compete for all these folks. But at the end of the day,
Uh,
we're marketers are probably doing that now. We just don't call it that.
oh, for sure. We are definitely competing for their attention. And I think if they were to see us in challenges, actually seeing all the things that we have to do and all
Oh,
the
oh,
things
that's
that we
good.
have to own
That's
today,
good.
from data to customers,
Mm,
from I don't know, digital transformation to customer experience,
mm,
from creating demand, so short term and long term
mm-hmm.
goals balancing, resource allocation, budget management. It's art, it's science, it's data privacy and security, and it's
Oh,
bring me results and growth and revenue, right? Marketers have to do it all. It's a high pressure job. We have to be artists and scientists, as I said. So maybe that would allow them to understand us better, for sure.
mm-hmm. That's really good. That's really good. Marketers often talk about empathy and the power of stepping into your audience's shoes.
Mm,
You have to be able to understand what they're going through before you
yeah.
can lead them to a better place. Well, it's maybe a similar thing internally. A lot
Oh
of our
God.
stakeholders are making these demands of marketing. They're not always unreasonable demands. It's just that they
Yeah.
don't understand. They haven't walked in our shoes to know how difficult it might be to get those things, often, especially in short timelines.
That's funny you would mention that because you're right. We talked about the importance of your, audience research, getting to know your audience. And I think
Mm.
marketers are, in general, pretty good at that. There's always room for improvement, but in general, we are good at trying to understand our audience and speak their language, except for when it comes to internal audiences that our budgets depend
Wow.
on, right? So I've
Wow.
seen a lot of times, marketers struggling to speak the language of finance and the CFO. And we go
Hmm.
in there with, hey, my email campaign in Q3 delivered 10% CTR and delivered 500 MQLs,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not their language. They won't know if it's good or bad. They don't know what a CTR is. They don't have to know necessarily, right? So it's very interesting how we forget that your peers in the C-suite and your CEO are your audience the same way, just internally.
Wow. That's smart. That's like a paradigm shifting way of thinking about it. This is good. This is good.
Can I say one more thing?
Please
And
do.
again, shout out again to John Miller. Hey, John. I recently read, I think he posted a couple weeks ago on LinkedIn about how you have to shift um, from um, cost per lead or customer acquisition cost. So anything that is framing you as a cost center to maybe investment per opportunity, which will
Hmm.
again put you at the revenue table, right? So
Wow.
it's really little things of how you formulate your words that will really help you change the perception of marketing. again, going from cost per lead to investment per opportunity will frame your C-suite peers thinking of you very differently.
I've never heard that before, and we're gonna have to close it on that one because that was a mic drop moment, folks. We've been hanging out with the Zsuzsanna Blau. She's the head of global demand and marketing campaigns at Nokia. She's on the 2022 Future B2B CMO 100 list, and I don't think she'll be on those future lists for very long. We're looking at a CMO who's very soon going to be filling that seat. Zsuzsanna, thank you for hanging out with us today on the Demand Wars.
I loved it. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Balaji. Love it.
All right, folks, we'll see you on the next one. And hey, don't forget to give us that Cash App because people need to pay some money. We got to gate this, Zsuzsanna. We got to start. This was good. Thank you, folks. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.